Oh, am I live? Yes, I was not ready. Hey, everybody. No, I wasn't ready. This is what happens when you do not plan lives and you just go on impromptu. How's everybody doing? I will wait for some people to come in. I don't know how many people are going to come in, but we shall see what happens. So, while I wait for a few people to come in, I am going to, let's see, get myself ready. Why does it seem like my face looks lopsided on this camera? Well, having a vain moment. But anyway, so I want to chat with you all about a few things, okay? So before I start talking, let me do something here really quick. If you are new here, I am Tamara Temu. I am the alchemist of Unleashed Alchemy, okay? That is who I am. And let's see. I'm just doing something really quick. Okay. Is anyone here? Okay, so I'm going to start talking here. So there are a few things that I want to share with you. So if you have been, well, the first thing I want to ask you is if you have any questions about the money series that just completed yesterday. 12 videos in that series. Very impactful, very empowering. If you have not had a chance to go through that series, I really invite you to do that now. The series is focused on money specifically, but you can apply that series to anything. Why? Because in the series, we're talking about identity. Identity beyond what you see in the mirror, identity beyond what your so called personality is, which is also a programmed view. All right. I talk about our programmed view of money and how it is laced with religious programming and how religious views of money has negatively impacted our own relationship and hence our experiences with money. Okay. Why do I talk about money? Because money is a very essential part of our physical existence. It just is, and I know that there's messaging out here where people are tired of capitalism and people are actually offended when people who have businesses come online and share their offering, so, and that's fine. People can be offended. I am not offended because I am a business owner. I have a business and I do not hesitate sharing my offerings. When I sell, I'm doing that another person a favor by telling you that what I have to offer is going to transform your life. So I have no problem selling. So, side note, if you're new here, If you don't like being told about an offer, if you don't like to be sold to, then this is not the channel for you. Okay. But if you are new here, let me just tell you what this channel is about. On this channel, I talk about moving from religious programming to spiritual ecstasy, moving into knowing who you are as an energetic being, as the God in your life, period. Okay. There's no God up there sitting in the sky giving you a destiny and telling you what to do. Do we have our unseen guides, angels? From my perspective, from my experiences, I will tell you, yes, we do. Okay. Is there a source that is beyond us? Yes, there is. However, that source is us. We are not separate from it, period. So that is the angle. If that sounds good to you, okay, then you're in the right spot. So the reason why I wanted to have this really quick live is I want to talk about how, and I've talked about this before, but this deserves being repeated because I still see people and I still hear people not taking what they say and not understanding that what you say is what you see. What you say is what you see. And the reason why people are not being intentional about what they say is because too many people still don't understand how powerful they are. So let me talk about religious programming for a minute. So religion says you better make sure that what you want and what you desire that it falls in line with what God wants for your life. You better make sure because what you want may not be what God wants for you. So, what does that do? It takes your power away from you as God in your life. We did not come here to look outside of ourselves for permission. We did not come here to look outside of ourselves for a destiny, for purpose, for guidance. We didn't. We did not. All of that is within us. It is within the dark matter, the dark spaces of our molecules, of our cells. It is what we carry in our DNA. So when we hear messages like that, it causes us to not trust our intuition. It causes us to not trust in our own spiritual gifts. It causes us to not trust in the messages that are coming forth from our soul. It causes us to dismiss. It causes us to turn away from that identity that exists in our soul that knows all, sees all, hears all, goes beyond what our physical senses show us. It causes us to distrust that. So, whether you have grown up in religious programming, whether you grew up in it and now you are far removed from it, that idea can still take a hold of your mind and can play out and manifest in your life in ways that you don't want it to. So, then that causes you to live a life where you are putting a filter on everything that you desire, where you're putting a filter on everything that you want, because somewhere along the line, someone made you feel nervous or even scared about saying exactly what you want. And this could be in the most simple way. And before I say that, let me not get ahead of myself. And I'm taking a risk here because I don't have notes. And if you have been following me, you know I need notes. Okay. But we're going to make this video work. So, what happens is your soul has shown you how beautiful and how enchanting your life can be. But because you have not yet been reacquainted with who you are, or perhaps you know the power that you carry, but you're nervous about it for many different reasons. Okay. You have said, well, I want this, but reality is showing me this. I want this. I desire this. But logically speaking, I'll just settle for this, or I don't see how that is going to happen. So I'll just settle for this. Your soul is saying, I desire this, but then practicality gets in the way and says, well, was that really practical? And then that over analyzing takes place, which sends you down a rabbit hole that can sometimes be a challenge to get out of. Yes, and that comes from programming. That comes from religious programming. Religious programming keeps us in our minds. And here's the ironic thing about this, and I won't go that I'm saving what I'm getting ready to talk about in another video for another time. But let me just say this. The ironic thing about that is that religious programming, it takes people's minds. And if you can take someone's mind, you can take their body. But when it comes from desires from your soul, this is when you have to get back in tune with your body. So, all of that over analyzing of what's practical and what can happen and what's possible, that's all in here. But what we're talking about, when we're talking about your power, your magic power, your supernatural self, we have to get back into our bodies. Because why? Because now we're talking about the nervous system where your identity as a supernatural being lies, period. That supernatural identity goes beyond logic, goes beyond practicality, it goes beyond what you're used to, even goes beyond what you see other people have done, perhaps in the same situation that you're in. So, when you're asking the question, or when things come up that cause you to say, well, I want this, I want to see this happen in my life, I desire this, I want this, to say what you want with confidence, with your chest, in the power of the I am, you first have to ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? That is a simple question. Those three words are transformational. Those three words will change your freaking life. You will no longer, you'll no longer look the same. You won't act the same. You won't talk the same. Why? Because an internal shift has starting to take place. Even if you don't get, when you ask that question, let's say you ask it at 5 a.m. And let's say, you don't get an answer, quote, an answer right away, which is why you have to be even detached from that answer, or you have to be unattached from how you think that answer is going to come through. Because when you ask that question, we're not talking about your, quote, personality. We're not talking about that. We're going beyond that. Okay. So when you ask that question, you're going to start to notice things happening. You're going to start to notice images and messages and visions that you get that are not coming from your ego or from your typical personality. It's coming from your soul. It's coming from your soul, and it's going to be beyond what you're used to. It's going to be beyond what you've seen. It's going to take you beyond what you've seen even other people in your life accomplish. Period. Because this is about your identity. This is about awakening that identity up and for the identity to be expressed through you. This body is a container for your soul's true expression. Your soul's true expression came here to be expressed in a way that hasn't been expressed before. So, no, it's not going to be familiar to you. It's not supposed to be because it's coming from your soul, period. So, when you ask that question, who am I? It makes it easier for you to say exactly what you deserve, what you desire, and what you want. So, you can say it with your chest in the power of the I am. That's it. So, if you have noticed that when you get ready to say what you want, and then and then you stop yourself because you feel like you have to put a filter on it, or you say what you want, or you think about what you want, and then something that thought right after that comes up with, well, how are you going to do that? What is do you see what your bank account looks like? How are you going to do that? Well, this is a legal issue. This is a contract. How do you think you're going to come out of the contract? Let's talk about that real quick. Let me give you a very recent story about what I faced. I was in the middle of a contract, a lease, which is a contract, okay? It wasn't even I wasn't even a full 5 months within the lease. Now, I will tell you, even before I moved into the place, I settled, and it was what was going to work for me at the time. I was content with it and thought, okay, I'll just deal with this for a year. I really, it's okay. I really don't like it. It was by the water, full of palm trees, which is what I love. The outside environment was what I love, but for my true taste, it was below my true taste. Well, no sooner had I moved in, a bunch of just problem after another problem to the point where I had to go stay in a hotel so that contractors could come in and fix all these problems back to back to back to back until it came to a head where the problem became even more so. Thought the problems were fixed. They were not fixed. And I started to go back and say, what do you want? Who are you? Are you God over this? Or are you going to tell yourself, well, I have to stay in a lease because I signed this contract? No, who are you as a supernatural being? This is how I had to talk to myself. I had to remind myself who I am. Once I started to get back into that and I started to stand firm in my I am power and not allow for any type of programming, religious and otherwise, to cause me to go back on my own power, to give my power away. I stood firm in my I am power. I didn't have to do anything. The landlord came back to me and said, "You know what? We're just going to let you out of the lease. Here's your deposit back. Here's your money back for the current month that I had already paid." And everything was done in writing. So that way, they couldn't come back to me like 2 months later and say, hey, you still owe, 7 months or 8 months for this lease. No, it happened because I reminded myself who I am. And I got clear and said exactly what I wanted, regardless of what was practical, what was logical, or, all of those things that the ego brings to you. That just happened. I could give you some other examples as well, okay, that have happened since then, but I won't. That's enough. I can give you some examples later, but that was a big deal. Okay, so if you are Still, again, having a hard time saying exactly what you want, you can apply this to every single part of your day. If you are not used to doing that, you can start out by it's almost like a muscle, because again, we are not taught to go within. We are not taught to do that. We're always programmed to look outside of ourselves. So, here's a little way, okay, an easy way that you can start to practice and build up that muscle. Say that, you're going someplace, you're going to a restaurant, and you want a close parking space just because you don't want to walk. You want to be right at the door. And if that is really what you want, you can say exactly how you see it. I want to drive easily into this parking space and have a parking spot right outside the restaurant door. The end. The end. You're not worried about what time you get there. You're not worried about it being lunchtime. You're not worried about any of those logical, practical factors that the ego will hand you. All you're thinking about is who you are and the power of your voice. Period. I don't know how many times I've done that. It could be, you could even, I'll give you an example of one that I've actually used and have used over and over again. Going to, a shopping center or just any place, especially with the restaurant, if it is during a busy time, during lunchtime, where you could logically, practically expect for the parking lot to be full. You could logically expect to have a parking space, but far away from the door. You could logically expect to be able or to have to sit in a line to even get into a parking space because of the time of the day. That's logical. That's practical. That's realistic. But no, who are you? What do you want? You can start implementing that and using your I am muscle throughout the day for those little instances. If you are in a job and perhaps, it's a job that you enjoy, yet maybe you don't like where your desk is. You want to be closer to a window. You want to work by a window. Well, say what you want. Don't worry about, well, who's going to move my desk. Is there a desk open? Who's going to move my computer? Yeah, how am I going to move? What do you want? Who are you? We can enchant every single part of our lives. Period. And those are little examples, but I want to hit home that our life was meant to be enchanted. I didn't say anything about perfection, but we can enchant, we have that power to enchant our lives and call forth the unseen into the seen. Our souls are begging to be expressed, wanting to be expressed. Okay? So it's time. So I wanted to leave you with that message. The second thing that I want to talk about is I've been thinking of having it where I come on live every week on the Unleashed Alchemy YouTube channel and I answer 3 questions from subscribers, from you who have chosen to be here. You made an intent decision about being here. This is what I love about YouTube over any social media platform, because YouTube, people are very intentional about who they choose to listen to. All right. This is an exchange of energy, which is a wonderful thing that people are so intentional on YouTube. So I love it. I love it here. So anyway, so that's what I've been thinking about doing. So now, as far as me scheduling a live, I can be honest with you right now and tell you that I won't schedule it far out in advance. As far as me scheduling a live, the most of a schedule that you'll probably see is perhaps an hour before I come on live. So even if you miss the live, even if your question is the one that's getting answered, the lives will always be available to you to go back and watch. Okay. So you don't have to worry about that. So if you are interested in doing that, I would love to do that and um, answer it based on the experiences that I have gone through and am experiencing now on my spiritual odyssey. So if you have questions that are pressing about, your spiritual odyssey, your spiritual gifts, how to really shed the old operating system of religious programming and moving to spiritual ecstasy with confidence. If you have questions pertaining to that, general questions about even how to get reacquainted with your spiritual gifts, how to tap into it. If you have questions surrounding that, ask me those questions. Again, I will choose three. You can leave me your question in the chat section. You can send me an email. Those are the two options. My email is unleashedalchemy@gmail.com. And again, I'll choose three and I'll do this, every week I'll go live, dedicating the live to three questions. Okay. And we can do that, how long. I don't have a time frame, but so I'm thinking just something to support, provide more support to you all that are here that come on to the channel. So let me know if you are interested in that. Okay. The third thing that I want to tell you about is that I created a 50-minute complimentary class that is a how to jam packed in 50 minutes. It's fast, okay, but it's powerful, it's impactful, and it will revolutionize your spirituality. You will end it with confidence on who you are. Okay, so it is available to you. It is complimentary. It's 50 minutes. Okay, and you will get that complimentary class when you sign up to be a part of the Unleashed Alchemy Vault. Okay. And these are the vault you'll get periodic emails on spiritual wisdom, any downloads that I am led to share with you. So I will leave the link for that in the description. It'll be in the description box of this video. Okay. Also, I want to remind you that if you are wanting more one-on-one support on your spiritual odyssey, working with me, book a complimentary call with me so that we can talk about what your most pressing spiritual issues are and we can go to work. Okay. So I want to thank you for listening. I know this was impromptu, and don't forget, let me know if you like the idea of me going live impromptu every week and focusing the live on answering the questions that you send to me. All right. Again, my email is unleashedalchemy@gmail.com. All right. Until next time, cheers.